how do you actually live an authentic life, a honest life?
Yeah. Well, in the Gita, Krishna has a phrase, or it's translated into English as the introspective sage. So, of course, like we have the word spectacle, so it means to see, and intro means within. And as I meditated on this statement and just the word introspection, I began to see how essential it is for spiritual practice to be introspective. And introspective means to be objective about yourself. And ego is very subjective. I'm the greatest, I'm the best. Nobody's as smart as I am. Nobody's as qualified as I am. Everything I think is correct. Everyone else is wrong if they don't agree with me. That's the subjectivity of ego. But introspection is objectivity, being able to see, no, that may not be true that I'm the greatest, I'm the most intelligent, that I'm always right. Not that I'm not right sometimes, but obviously not always right. So introspection, perhaps we could say it means self-honesty, being able to admit where I'm weak, maybe being able to admit my faults. Ego doesn't want to do that. Ego is always trying to compete with others. Ego is very insecure. Like we have to, to feel happy, to feel strong, we have to outdo somebody. If we lose, we can't deal with it. The ego just becomes depressed. And if we're in spiritual life, we have to be able to see these things, see ourselves, see our ego, see our desire to be recognized, see our weaknesses as they are, but without judgment, not berating ourselves, but just see them as they are. Be realistic. So I would say it's really a matter of being realistic about ourselves. And so that's what self-honesty means. And ego is all about what other people think of me. And that's not what spiritual life is about. Spiritual life is we don't do things to impress people. That's material life. And so part of the problem is we come from material life into spiritual life, and a lot of times we bring that material mentality. That material mentality, it actually gets you ahead in the material world. It's common. People often will not think it's bad if you're competing, right? Maybe you step on someone's toes to get a position. Maybe you work really hard and your company outdoes another company, or you win an event, or you start a company and it puts another company out of business, and people will congratulate you for that. So that's very good. You worked hard, you're very smart. So that works materially, but in spiritual life, it doesn't exactly work that way. We're not going to compete with other devotees. We're going to serve them. We're not trying to outdo anyone or anything other than our own weaknesses. We're trying to overcome them. So that becomes the problem. When you come to spiritual life and you have this success mentality, material success mentality, which is ego-based. And sometimes that enters spiritual life and it can ruin our spiritual life. Spiritual life it's really the essence of it is humility. So that's Krishna consciousness. And I think it's important to know that that's the goal. Because when we have this material mentality, we think, well, maybe the goal is to have a position, have some recognition in the organization. Because that's, in India, right? If you've gone to a good school, like if you're from IIT or some other good school, people will highly respect you. If you work for a good company, you'll be highly respected, isn't it? And that becomes very important for people because people are judging you by your education, by your company you work for, by the position in the company. So it becomes very important for everybody because that's how people are looking at us, how we're dressed, what car we drive, where do we live, what family we're from. And so what caste, it's pervasive, right? How we're being judged. And then you become a devotee, and you could be thinking, oh, now that I'm a devotee, so position is important. Maybe I should become this. Temple leader, project leader, president, Sankirtan leader, whatever. And that's not what it's about. So sometimes it takes a while for us to understand. No, it's about, I'm not a Aham Vipra, I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a sannyasi, I'm just a servant. And humility is the ultimate goal. This is like Bhakti Siddhanta. When he was leaving this world, he said, our goal is to be a particle of dust at the feet of Rupa and Raghunath. Now meditate on that. Our goal is to be a particle of dust. Yeah. So I say, what's your goal? Well, I was thinking I could become GBC in 10 years. Why? Well, if I become GBC, then, I'll get respected. I'll get the Mahaprasadam whenever I want it. And when I go to Mayapur, people will look at me, in a good light because I'm GBC, and I'll become more confident and proud. And no, that's all the wrong reasons, right? The goal, as long as you're in that mentality, my goal is to be a particle of dust. Then you've got it. Then you've arrived. So I really see sometimes devotees have a hard time admitting. Let's say you were thinking like that. Let's say at Chitta Gopal, you were thinking, I want a position because I'll be respected. But it would really be hard for you to admit that to yourself, that that's why you want to become, it's like, I want to become this in my temple because I want a position. You will tell yourself, no, I just want to do it to serve. And I wouldn't deny that you want to do it to serve, but there also may be something else in there, right? And to be able to acknowledge that and admit it, that's what it means to be introspective. That's what it means to be humble. And if we don't acknowledge it and admit it, how can you heal it? Because you don't even know it's a problem. How can you cure a disease if you don't even know you have it? So that, I think, is a huge challenge because the ego gets in the way because the ego doesn't want to admit it, that that's actually my motive. And so the way to do that is don't judge yourself. Just become aware of what you need to work on, but without judgment, without condemnation. Because if you condemn yourself, it doesn't work. And if you have that mentality, you don't want to discover what's wrong with you because it just discourages you. Rather than the mentality of discovering what's wrong to improve it, which is kind of inspiring.